worse than my fantasy football team. That's even terrible. Yeah. I'm good. I'm tired, man. You ever you know what cracks me up about being on an airplane is when the plane lands and they haven't even put the thing on the door yet to allow you to walk across, and people are already standing up grabbing their luggage like this is thing's gonna move. The worst part is like the people all the way in the back of the plane, like where I sit, and it's like, what are you guys rushing to get off the plane for? Like, we ain't moving for a minute. I didn't even put the door on, man. Like, the minute it gets in park, people taking their seatbelt off, grabbing their stuff, standing up. I'm like, why? It's like the same thing when people line up hella early and their zone's not even called to board yet. Like, what's the rush, y'all? But outside of that, I can't complain. Hawaii was great, nice and warm. Good to come back to 40-degree tornado-ish weather out here in the Bay Area. So, yeah. I would say so. It's good. Happy holidays to everybody too. It's good to be back right before Christmas. How you doing though, bro? That's yes. Got hosed. We're gonna talk about that. We got hosed. Nope. Well, we malfunctioning.
Yeah, that ain't right. Okay, that's better. All right. Now, hopefully I wasn't muted that whole time. It had me set to my laptop monitor or my laptop mic, which is right next to me, by the way. But I guess we'll find out. But anyway, folks, we're going to jump right in as we usually do with the NFL, starting with our teams. My team is still playing right now. The Raiders are taking on the Atlanta Falcons in what we can call a tune-up game for the Atlanta Falcons at this point. Falcons are struggling to try to stay in position to make the playoffs, and they've done everything. Oh my goodness, they've done everything that they could to not make the playoffs. Atlanta's been very Jekyll and Hyde. The Raiders, on the other hand, have been bad. Been saying it all year. Keep on losing, baby. We got to get that draft pick. This is one notch in the belt closer to getting a pick. So the Raiders need to go ahead and do that and draft the very best player that they can find. Rumors about Shadur and Dion going to the Raiders have started flying.
God.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Don't
and if there's
entertain
one
that, man.
owner that will take the bait on that, it's definitely Mark Davis.
Don't do that, man. Look, I'm not. It's oh god, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
It's Vegas,
man.
baby. It's Vegas.
That doesn't mean go signing people like that. Look, DeJory Sanders is a good college quarterback. Do I think he's going to pan out in the NFL? No. There's just too many big games for him in the Big 10 or Big 12, I should say. He was a shell of himself. He really wasn't that good. And that's the reason why he wasn't at the Heisman ceremony, to say the least. I think Dion may be able to have a little bit of success in the NFL. When was the last time you saw an ex-NFL player have a good, successful coaching career in the NFL? I'll put that.
There's a few.
Right. Who?
Isn't there? Didn't D'Amico Ryan? Didn't he play in the NFL?
Not at the caliber of Deion Sanders.
Oh well, I mean caliber. Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's gonna match what that is there.
Yeah, I got you. So you're talking Hall of Fame level NFL players that are great coaches. Yeah, I mean probably not. I mean, we've only seen it maybe as an executive with John Elway, but obviously John Lynch is over there with the 49ers, but we haven't seen it at the coaching level. So I definitely hear where you're coming from on that. But at the end of the day, the Raiders just have to make some changes, honestly. I mean, this is obviously not a winning team or a winning franchise, and they definitely have to come up with some solutions because right about now,
Yes.
they stink. I mean, and it's not even close. We're like on our fifth quarterback right now. We got Ritter out there playing his old team. We made the mistake of signing Gardner Minshew to be our starter. Not that we. Who exactly were we competing with to sign Gardner Minshew anyway?
Nobody.
I don't think anybody was out there looking for him. So to me, it wasn't that great of a pickup. AOC, they kept him on the sideline until he came back and got hurt. And it's just been Crosby's out for I think the remainder of the year, I think at this point. And yeah, there's no end to this thing, man. They just got to get it over with. Just suck it up, get to the end, and then let's try to draft, like I said, the best possible player they can. But at this point, yeah, man, this is just another loss. And
Yeah, you
a
don't want to
loss,
risk.
a
Don't
loss for
risk.
the Raiders and a win for the Raiders. So, again, they got to get that. They got to at least manage to be the worst team in the NFL if you're going to be down.
Or you use that top 5 draft pick as leverage to go get yourself a quarterback in the NFL. That's something that you can do, to say the least. They'll
Yeah.
have options, but man, there's not much more to say about
Yeah,
that.
it's garbage. It's trash.
They're losing
So that's-
9-3 right now too to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not terrible, 9-3, but it hasn't looked like the best game. And the Raiders will surprise you against teams when you don't expect them to win. They'll show up, and they had a couple of close games, but just weren't able to get it done. The fumble was the biggest one, right, that we saw against Kansas City. And anyways, let's move away from the Raiders. Let's start talking about your team. The Ravens went in this weekend, just got it done all the way around.
Here's another one not to talk about.
Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdowns, went berserk out there. And, this wasn't much of a game to talk about, but I'll turn it over to you, B, man. Anything you saw in this game where it made you feel better about their chances? Because at this point, they got to win these games considering what's going on around them.
Well, yeah, and so this was a good little tune-up game just to get the kinks out of the, whatever was working, coming fresh off of a bye week.
Yeah.
Expected a little bit of a slow start, which we got, but then Lamar throws for 5 touchdowns here. It was the New York Giants, but that's the kind of team that you want to play before you head into this Saturday matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Behind a game, you could technically say 2 games in the standings because it's going to be a tiebreaker. And so this game is going to be massive on Saturday. And then to make things worse, you got to turn around and play on Wednesday against the Houston Texans as well. So the NFL, thank you for such a short week again.
Wait, Wednesday or Thursday? Oh,
Wednesday.
On Christmas.
Yeah,
yes,
so
gotcha.
they'll play Saturday, which again, I get it because NCAA is not involved on Saturdays no more. Then you turn around and play Wednesday.
That's rough,
why are they playing double
that's rough.
game? Every team in the league has to do it at least once. Like, why are we playing on Christmas Day first and foremost? And we'll talk about that because the NBA owns Christmas Day here. Other than that, I think the only real big thing is Deontay Johnson is suspended because he didn't want to go into the game, which we had another football player want to do some stuff like that as well. This is going to be another good matchup with the Steelers. There wasn't really much to really hang your hat on against the New York Giants.
They suck. Yeah,
they suck. So it was good just to get those kinks out, kind of get your beak wet again, back into the emotion in the NFL. It's crazy that they had a bye. Now there's only 4 games left, so this team should be pretty well rested to have a good final push at the end of the season here.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great game, honestly, because the Steelers are coming off a loss, in a game where they made a lot of mistakes. So I think that this should be a battle. But speaking of battles, let's go to the 49er game. Was an absolute defensive slugfest back and forth. But ultimately,
I'll let you call it a defensive slugfest. I'll call it trash.
Yeah, well,
okay. That's what that was.
Okay, I'll give you that. There were some passes that were misthrown in this game on the Brock Purdy side of things. It was definitely not one of his better games. Wide receiver core, which we talked about last week, was kind of a dumpster fire. They seemed to want to force the ball into Deebo Samuel, and he was not at all prepared to step into those shoes, and it just really looked like it, it they look like a shell of a team. They didn't look very good offensively at all. I thought their defense didn't play too bad, but offensively they were not getting it done. And you got to give the Rams some credit for holding the 6 points. I mean, that's pretty good. But for all intents and purposes, I think this we can finally put a that they got an outside chance. There are 4 more games to go, but might be able to put a shell on this thing. Except I take that back. Seattle keeps finding ways to lose games, so never mind. I don't know what's wrong with them. They are 1 week good, 1 week just terrible. They played Green Bay and just got shellacked. It wasn't even
Yeah,
close. So the 49ers have an outside chance, but with the Rams being 8-6, and now I believe is there a tie between them and the Seahawks at this point?
there is, but the Rams own the tiebreaker because they've already beaten the Seahawks.
Yeah, so
So
they got
they're
that
in
number
first
one
place right
spot,
now.
and
Yeah.
we've said this before. The second place team in this division probably doesn't even make the playoffs,
Yep.
just because of some of the talent that's in there. So yeah, man, it might be a wrap for the Niners. Rough season. You had 2 shots at the Super Bowl. It's gonna wear on you, and this year maybe they need to go into the offseason, maybe retool a bit. They got guys quitting on their team. Just don't know how to play. They got,
Hold on, Antonio Brown
yeah,
of the
just ran away.
of the defense. I don't get that, man. Like, look, Dre Greenlaw was coming back. He's obviously a better linebacker than Devon, whatever the hell his name is, Campbell.
Yeah.
All right. That dude Campbell was getting beat like a drum all year. All right. I've watched a lot of Niner games here in the Bay, and there's one thing, that dude does not get off the line. He is very slow on the perimeter. He's not a good linebacker. He's just a spot filler until you get Greenlaw back. Greenlaw comes back, it changes the way the defensive kind of runs. You've got the 2 best linebackers in the NFL between Fred Warner and Greenlaw in there. You're not going to get much playing time. You had every opportunity to maximize that, and you chose not to. Now all of a sudden, you're getting benched because rightfully you should be, and then you want to quit on the team because the season is difficult. This has been a challenging season for the 49ers as is. You had contract disputes left and right to start the season with Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. You've just had some unfortunate things happen with a couple of players.
Injuries.
You had injuries.
Ricky Purcell gets shot, for goodness sake.
Ricky Purcell gets
I
shot. You had
mean,
players
what?
losing babies. You know,
Yeah. What?
it just wasn't an easy season for them to sit there and focus on football.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we've talked about it. The runs that this team has had to make over the last 5 years with the same core of guys does get exhausting. It does put a little more mileage on your players as well. And here's the biggest factor of them all, which I think is Deebo Samuel had every opportunity to say, hey, don't forget I was a number one before Brandon Ayuk, and proceeded. He's been crying the last 2 weeks. Remember what he said last week? Oh, it's not that I'm open. They're just not throwing me the ball. Well, they threw
Well,
you
he
the
threw the
ball on
ball
Thursday,
that day. They were
and you
throwing.
had a chance to score a touchdown, and you dropped it, and you proceed to get booed, which you deserved. All right, and so now it's just all snowballing. I think there's more to this that we don't know about. That, like, I think it's gonna leak out at some point.
Yeah, well, Debo Samuels has been on the chopping block as far as trades for the past couple of years as well. Unfortunately, his value is way low at this point. There was a point in time where there were talks about a possible trade for someone like Tyreek Hill, if you remember, before he went to Miami, and unfortunately, the Niners weren't able to get on that. They paid Debo, and just kind of hasn't really panned out this season. And curiously enough, you start looking around at some of the players that they have, and you know they've got a good mix of older and younger guys, mostly I guess mostly younger guys, but they've got to find a way to fill out that wide receiver roster, and they've got to make that offense a little bit more potent somehow. They relied a
Yeah,
lot on the running game. Unfortunately, they did lose both running backs this season, between Christian McCaffrey and what's the other dude?
Davis,
Davis. Yeah.
Davis, yeah,
So they lost. There was nowhere else to go. Even their third string running back got some pretty good runs. So they are a running team, and that's how they are set up. They want to try to throw the ball a little bit more with Brock Purdy, who has his ups and his downs. But one thing I gotta call out, man, is, and I saw this across a few games, dude. Whatever happened to the accuracy in the deep ball? Like, no, nobody throws an
No
accurate
one,
deep ball anymore.
nobody.
Everybody underthrow. I saw Jaden Daniels have different guys open in the Commanders game. He had three different. I'm talking touchdowns. Three different guys over for touchdowns, and he underthrew one and overthrew the other two. And it's just like, well, what the hell's going on? Like, have we? What happened to the accuracy on the deep ball? I mean, most of these guys are not playing in the snow right now, so I don't know what the deal is. But come on, quarterbacks, let's step it up. If a guy's open 50 yards down the field, you're a professional quarterback. That should be a touchdown.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And then Papa J, welcome to the chat. Says, "What up, my boys? Welcome, Papa J.
What's
Good to
up?
see you back in here, man. Let us know how you feeling about your Niners, man. I know you're a Niner fan, so love to hear your input on this as far as how this season has come. You mentioned Tyreek Hill in the running with the Niners. I'm actually glad Tyreek didn't come here. He would, Tyreek's a deep ball guy. And the Niners don't really throw the deep ball. They're more of a West Coast
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of slinging thing. And so I just don't see. It wouldn't have been a good fit for him in this offense, considering when's the last time you seen the Niners quarterback throw it 40, 50 yards down the field more than
You've
once in
seen
a
them
game?
try. They just don't do it very well. I mean, remember
Yeah,
it was the
like
same
like
thing
you
with
said.
Garoppolo, where
Yeah.
Garoppolo couldn't complete a pass more than 20 yards down the field, at least not accurately.
Dude, and
But Bo Nix was out there throwing 20-yard bombs to the wrong team all day.
well, at
Like,
least he was throwing it.
some of these quarterbacks, I'm like, what is going on? Like, it was
Oh
rough, man. I
man.
was just going between games, and I gotta tell you, I was not impressed with anybody in particular
No.
outside of Josh Allen. I mean, other than Josh Allen, and Jared Goff Jared Goff also I thought had a really good game too. But other than that, man, it was kind of like, yeah, I
Let
don't
me
know.
let me ask you this, T. We saw Campbell just walk off the field, quit. Let me ask you this: as a player, not as a fan, as a player of a sport, if you watch your teammate walk off the field because he's not going to get any more playing time, how does that make you feel as an athlete grinding with your teammates?
I mean, in the long run, it's kind of like F them, forget them. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, whoever's here is here, and if you're not here with us in the trenches trying to fight, then I don't need to be bothered talking about you. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
the guys still got to get up and play the next game whether they want to or not. It's your job, and it's one of the best jobs you can have is to play his sport. And so it's just like, nah, bro. I mean, I definitely would be like out of sight, out of mind. Don't need to talk to you, hear from you. Let's get back to it. I know the Niners suspended him or whatever for maybe a few games or whatnot.
they suspended him for 3 games, but it's like,
Yeah,
why?
that's the end of the
Why the
season,
season? The
man.
season's
Yeah,
over at
season's
this
over.
point.
Just
Just
suspend the
cut his
guys.
ass.
Yeah, just be
John
done.
Lynch went down there and probably chewed his ass out a new one here. Me personally, dude, I, I don't want you in the locker room for the rest of the year, for the rest of my entire NFL career. If I'm in that state of mind, I get things can get difficult sometimes. You may not get playing time as well,
Yeah,
but the fact of the matter is, look, Greenlaw has been out for 10 games, right? He was the second leading tackler in the game.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that that says it all. We have not seen your name anywhere near the top all year. He comes back, he makes that much of an impact. It just sucks that it's too late for the Niners on the defensive end.
yeah.
Just take it. You're probably going to see playing time. You're not going to see as much playing time, but you gotta be there for your teammates. And then you want to pull some antics, do that stuff after the season. Just say, I don't want to be back no more.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't quit on your team mid game, mid fighting for your life here. That is the most disrespectful thing that you could do to an organization here. And I'm just surprised that it's not just a. It's for. I'm surprised he can get his ass whooped in the locker room right after
He
that.
probably left, man. He probably wasn't there. But that's the thing is, you know, it doesn't look good for any type of negotiation or any type of, let's say you go to another team in the future or possibilities of getting traded. It hurts all those things because the optics
Yep.
show that you're not a team player, you don't want to play, and you might James Harden your way out of the whatever's going on. So
Well, at least James Harden tells you that he's not playing. This dude
yeah,
just walked off the
that's
field.
true. Yeah. But yeah, man. So yeah, no, it's a bad look all the way around. And the Niners, it really is just the cherry on top for a season, like you said, that the Niners just have not been able to corral and get under control. It's just been just rough patch after rough patch.
It's about as patchy as Kevin Durant's hair, to say the least.
Exactly.
Let's get caught up in the chat here. Papa J, kickers and quarterbacks have been sucking all around the NFL. We will get to kickers from this past weekend, because, or is it the previous weekend? The previous one is no one could kick a field goal or a PAT
Point
if
after.
their life
Yeah.
depended on it. Papa J says, I blame the whole season on Kyle. He could have been using his backups and been winning games all season long, but chose not to for some reason, never did. I still don't think you don't you can't let Kyle go. You let Kyle go, you might as well just blow up this entire team. You're not gonna find a better coach right now outside of Kyle Shanahan. He's still one of the more winning coaches in Niner history. He's done things in the Niners organization that haven't been seen in a very long time. I still think you ride it out, but you like T said, you may have to clean a little bit of house to kind of bring in some new, fresh faces for that, because this is an old organization, believe it or not. Trent Williams is what, mid 30s?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a whole lot of time. And honestly, I'd be mad at John Lynch for spending money on players like they had won Super Bowls. They
Yeah.
haven't won
That's
anything yet.
right. Right.
And you got players holding out like they've got two rings on their hands. No one on this roster has a Super Bowl ring under a 49er organization. So from what I'm seeing it as is you haven't really earned that right to sit there and demand that kind of money when you haven't really shown anything for it.
Yeah, I think that Brandon Ayuk thing is exactly what you're pointing to. I mean,
Yeah.
your offensive line, you're definitely going to want to pay those guys because at the end of the day, they protect the quarterback. Wide receivers, man, there's a lot of them out there, and you gotta make sure that you're paying for top. If you're going to pay top dollar, you better be a top wide receiver. And it never made any sense to me to pay Brandon Ayuk the same thing that a Tyreek Hill is making, or a Monse Raw, or all these guys that are on teams and are making an impact day in, day out, and have proven themselves in those situations. Brandon Ayuk, I think, had one good season. I mean, he had the season before, which was good. Or I think he had 1,300 or so yards. The before that, maybe had 800 or 900, something like. So there is some growth, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And now, like I said, Debo Samuel's been on the chopping block a couple of times, but unfortunately, he's at his lowest possible value right now. And trying to trade him, we're probably not going to get anything. I mean, Devontae Adams was traded for what again?
Doritos snapbacks,
Yeah.
can of expired Baja Blast,
Yeah, it was
pretty
not
much
much,
it. Half
basically.
of his Taco Bell commercials, stuff
Not
like that. There,
much.
Papa J, lighten us up. I love it, man. He says they can't cut Kyle either because they'll have to pay millions because of his contract.
Yeah,
They'll have to turn around and pay millions more for a new guy. They can't do the same with Debo, and they can't do the same with BA. Honestly, there will be teams who probably would take guys like a Brandon Ayuk and a Debo Samuel here, and they may be able to eat a little bit of that contract there. But that's kind of what you get for doing that there. They had every opportunity to maybe cut ties with these guys and bring in a little bit of a fresher talent to kind of keep that energy. But now it's just you may be stuck with just disgruntled players because they're not going anywhere, and
yeah,
they're going to need to do a big improvement from next year. And if they don't have a winning season or they're not in the conference championship, some guys are going to get cut or fired. It's going to be one of the two.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Although, like you said, with Kyle Shanahan, stick it out. I mean, I know
Can't
that's
you
not
can't
that's
let
not
that
the
go.
not the most
Can't let that
popular
go.
opinion. He will be a great coach anywhere. Honestly, I'm as a Raider fan, I'd love to have him on my team.
Hey man,
But
I love Harbaugh, but if you gave me Kyle Shanahan with Lamar Jackson,
oh man,
thank
yeah,
you,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Offense would be a lot different for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. Well, just to cover a couple of topics before we jump into kind of some of our main stuff around the NFL, I want to talk about that. The Bills go into Detroit and they handle business. I mean, they look
Oh
like the best team in the
God.
NFL. I'm not even going to argue it. They beat them down, and the Detroit Lions start to get some momentum early in the fourth quarter and decide to go for a onside kick with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm curious your thoughts. Now, we criticized this same Detroit team in the game last year against the Niners, where they just kind of, I don't know what they were doing. They were going for a fourth down at the end of the half instead of kicking a field goal, and some of the really aggressive play calling that just doesn't seem to make sense at the moment. And I think this is another example of that where you're being really aggressive on an onside kick with 12 minutes left in the fourth. How many onside kicks have even been recovered this year with the new rules? Like, I don't even, one, two, maybe. Like, it seemed really stupid.
I couldn't I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I would rather trust my defense to at least get one stop because that's all they
Yeah,
needed. They needed a stop
right.
to try to get a little more
Even
momentum.
a field goal, like they just needed something.
They needed something that wasn't 7 points. And you're right. There's no success to onside kicks, especially when you announce it. You have to let them know what side you're kicking it to.
Right.
There's no success to it. So you might as well just kick it deep, trust your defense, maybe get a turnover. It was very unlikely that you were going to get it, but I'd rather take that opportunity that's got a higher success rate than you do trying to recover an onside kick. And the worst part is the Bills not only recovered it, but damn near scored on the
Right.
recovery as well.
Literally
And I'm
handed
like,
them a
Dan,
touchdown.
you can't make a gamble like that this late in the season. The best record on the line, home field advantage now on the line, and you
Yeah.
call that's too big of a risk. Way too big of a risk to say the least. If it was the playoffs and you had this was it was do or die, and you need to get back in the game. All right, I can kind of see that there. You've got a lot to play for still. Like this season is not over for you.
It is not. It
And you make that call. That was very, very weird.
and now you have to worry about the Philadelphia Eagles, and if the Eagles can, continue to win, they have an opportunity now with the same record to get that home field throughout. Surprisingly, really. But yeah, man, I thought that was extremely strange. I don't know what the heck was going on. Just a weird play. Overall, really questionable.
Hey, can we talk about some of the stats in this game though between the Bills and the Lions?
It was crazy.
Holy
Lots of
fantasy
yards.
football people, be very happy if you are a owner of Jared Goff,
Reggie.
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Allen, 23 for 34, 362 yards passing and two touchdowns. Jared Goff with 38 of 59 for
Almost
494
500
yards,
yards and five
five
TDs.
touchdowns,
And
and
they
took
still
an
lost.
L.
And they still lost.
That is ridiculous. James Cook, 14 carries, 105 yards, two touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 14 receptions, 193, one touchdown.
Dang, man.
You want to talk about something that was so high powered offense. This game lived up to the hype. The Bills took advantage of here. I'm going to tell you this. We talk about who are the best teams in the NFL. Now the Bills own this. Hands down, they've beaten the Chiefs at home. They just went into Detroit, handled that there. That last touchdown by Detroit was kind of a gimme there. Um, Josh Allen probably is the MVP of the league now. I'm going to call it right
Pretty
now. I
close,
think
man.
it's I don't even think it's close anymore. I think this is his now. The guy has thrown, I think he's thrown for almost 12 touchdowns over 2 games.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a wild number to think of here. And the guy's doing it with very little talent. He is making the guys around him that much better. That's what you want from an MVP caliber player. And I think Josh Allen is your MVP of this year. Mark it on December 16th at 7 Pacific Standard Time. Josh Allen, MVP.
Yeah, and they round out their schedule playing their own division, which is going to be garbage time, pretty much. I mean, the Patriots, and so I think this team is really good. They beat some of the better teams that are in the league. They played the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them. Now they beat the Lions. So I think they really proved themselves. I guess much like the Baltimore Ravens, all that's left to prove is how well you're going to play in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen the Ravens with Lamar Jackson also have a stellar year. Last year, he was the MVP. They were the team to beat. But unfortunately, they didn't get it done in the playoffs. So we have to see if the Bills can replicate this and do the same thing in the playoffs because last few years they've kind of struggled in that department.
What's your call on that? What do you think?
Well, it really depends. They're going to have a tough road no matter how you cut it. If they can get home field throughout, that's going to be best. But remember, they had home field. Think they had home field last year, didn't they?
No, no,
They
the
didn't.
Ravens had
No,
the
they
Ravens had
the
it.
Ravens had it. That's right.
Yeah,
But when did they play in Kansas City or did Kansas City play in Buffalo?
Kansas City played in Buffalo.
Yeah, so they lost at home against Kansas City Chiefs last year. Um, you're they definitely want to have the home field advantage. You're talking about the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Kansas City Chiefs are the teams you're probably going to end up. You're going to see one of those or two of those teams. It's not going to be easy. And we saw what some of these young upstart teams can do if you're not paying attention. So if you look at a
Yeah,
team like the Houston Texans, or you got to be able to put these guys away. So it's just curious. It'll just be interesting to see. It's one thing to be the chaser. It's another thing to be the hunted. It's different. It's different when people are after you. So we'll see how the Buffalo Bills handle that. And can they handle the pressure of being the top team instead of sort of being playing the kind of Buffalo Bill underdog thing. We'll see if they can continue.
all right. And then Papa J comes in and says, I don't even know about that onside kick, but at the same time, he does not expect anything less from the Lions on a very important game.
Yeah,
You just hope they learn their lesson soon before it
they
catches
do.
them. And then let's talk about real quick. You talk about home field advantage for the Buffalo Bills. Kansas City is 13-1. They are probably the worst 13-1 team we have seen.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes does suffer an ankle injury against the Browns, and their season will get a little tougher here. They host the Texans, but then they are away from Arrowhead for the final two games against the Steelers, and then as well as the Broncos. And you cannot sleep on those Denver Broncos because I think they get them at this point. The Bills have an easy road
yeah.
to finish the season. Kansas City has been getting by the skin of their teeth here. At some point, that I think that end's got to run. I can see them losing two out of the next three games, especially on the road in Denver and in Pittsburgh as well. The Texans, we haven't really seen
They
the
they
Texans. They've been
yeah,
so inconsistent.
they've been middle of the road. They haven't been good great by any stretch of the imagination. And to be
Yeah,
honest, that's what their season was last year. They started off rather slow and they picked it up at the end of the year and surprised a lot of people. Yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs probably could suffer another loss along the way. The weird thing with the Chiefs is though is somehow they find a way to win. I think we
God,
have to remember that their defense is one of the best defenses in the league. And Pat Holmes, has not had a very good season at all compared to some of his previous seasons. Even watching him in the game yesterday, which they won, handily. Just didn't seem as sharp as you would think that he would be for being a former MVP and future Hall of Famer. So they definitely can be had for sure. It's just a matter of can these teams do it, and because you know if everything has to go through Arrowhead and the Kansas City Chiefs get 1 week to wait for their opponent, then yeah, it's going to be a huge advantage for Kansas City.
yep, that's true too. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. But the NFL is getting to it here, and dude, I can't wait, man. This
Yeah,
is gonna be a good stretch of games here. But I know you want to get into NBA talk because we got some gripes that we have to get off of our chest here with our teams because man, have they sucked.
yeah, man. Well, I mean, mine is pretty simple. I mean, the Lakers have been ho hum. They did get a win with LeBron returning after taking a little break to rejuvenate himself or go watch Bronny play in the G League or whatever he was doing. So it's good to see they were able to come back. They played the Grizzlies and got the win, who they're spanked by earlier in the season.
Yeah,
So it was good to see them playing together. The situation with the Lakers is always going to be the same. I think LeBron is too old or not too old, but he's not at the stage in his career where he can play the way that he used to. But he also has a hard time being a part of the system that they're attempting to run. And that's going to be the problem for them. LeBron, if you're an athlete at that level, you've got some type of ego and you want the ball in your hands and you want to shoot. The problem is the type of offense that they need to run or figure out is going to involve guys moving without the ball. And
mm-hmm.
LeBron is shown playing at the point guard position. When they tried that, the man was a turnover machine. Okay, he was not at all capable of doing that. He's got to go to being a regular three, which means he's got to set screens, cut into the paint. He's got to close out. He's got to rebound, and those are things that sound weird asking LeBron to do. But if he's going to continue to try to be LeBron, he's going to find himself falling short because he's just not the same guy anymore. And so we have this situation. We have LeBron pretending to be 10 years younger, but he can't do that anymore. And a team that's used to playing with him at a better state and are staring at him. So they have to stop ball watching so much. The leaders of the team have to become a cog in the offense that they want to run in order to push this thing forward. Otherwise, it's always going to be the situation where they win 2 games, they lose 3. They win 3 games, they lose 2. Like they're going to always be a 500 ball club because it's all depending upon how Braun feels that morning. And that's not consistent enough for them to win games.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna have to also make some names or some trades at the deadline here, which is crazy how it starts now and doesn't end until February, and yet people are already like really
Yeah.
starting to do stuff here. And the Pelicans actually came out and said that CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and there was another guy that was on the trading block. If you're the Lakers, you may want to entertain the fact of bringing Brandon Ingram back to LA after letting him go. You have the opportunity to do it. I think it may not be a bad fit to get that reunited, or you go and get CJ McCollum, who can really benefit or who can help this team out a lot, being a perimeter shooter, being a natural ball handler as well, kind of getting that offense into a good motion here. Let's be honest. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves aren't true point guards here. In fact, Anthony Davis damn near choked D'Angelo Russell when he missed the 2 threes against in that game there. So I think the Lakers should really take a hard look at CJ McCollum here to bring him in to kind of give a little more balance to the point guard position, but he also gives you a chance to really shoot as well here. So I would really maybe consider something like that.
Yeah, I think they need any help they can get at the as far as shooting is concerned. Defensively they've been a little lackluster, but lately they've done a little bit better job of picking up the pace defensively, or on the defensive end. Again, AD hasn't missed very many games at all. He's been playing pretty darn well outside of one or a hand two or 3 games maybe. LeBron has been up and down and really has had some struggles thus far.
Yeah.
He's played well at times too, but like I said, him being at this age, there are going to be games where he just doesn't have it. So they got to find some consistency out where I would love to get Brandon Ingram back, but the optics of the Pelicans trading Brandon Ingram back to us and getting Anthony Davis out of the trade that where they got him, that sound I don't think the Pelicans are dumb enough to. I don't think they're going to do that.
I would say they may be because those that whole experiment thing in New Orleans is
No,
done.
it's not
Like
working.
it's just not working anymore. You may even want to look off of dumping off Zion, big back Williams. He
Nobody
he
wants
just
him.
God, I would want him in a buffet eating competition, but
He's
it's just the Pelicans are once again are going to find themselves having to retool again. Who knows? Maybe what Dejounte Murray may not be a bad option as well.
yeah,
I think he could use another fresh start
yeah.
out of that because you
I
have him and Brandon Ingram in the same spot. Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, that and CJ McCollum, they have a lot of redundancy going over there,
Yep.
and so I think Brandon Ingram is gonna be a great player somewhere. I would love to see him go to a team like Charlotte where he can actually get the ball and be like playing, in a position to make some noise. But the Lakers always are in discussions about trades, but at the end of the day, the Lakers have to pay a trade tax. Nobody wants to trade good players to the Lakers generally because they don't want to make the Lakers a better team, especially if they're in the same, on the West Coast, or anywhere near them. So I don't know if the Lakers can pull off the trades because let's remember at the beginning of the off season, LeBron literally was like, "I'll take a pay cut if you can go sign somebody," and they came back empty handed. So I don't know that that same think tank is going to be able to pull off a trade for Brandon Ingram because the Pelicans have to go into straight OKC mode right now and get as many
Yeah.
picks as they possibly can, and they already own all the Lakers picks from the damn from the AD trade. So
Yep.
it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to trade to us because they've already pillaged all of our draft picks. They don't necessarily need any of the assets we have. So it's kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not really looking for that. They want to they're looking somewhere else. Honestly, and as much as I love the Lakers to get these players, I just don't see the Pelicans and the optics of that. I do not see them trading any of those players to us. They will not trade with us. They remember when the AD trade went down, it was considered a fleece. They were calling the Pelicans were being called all kinds of names. The city's booing them, and it was terrible because of the AD trade. But so I don't think they make that same mistake again.
Yeah. Papa J goes, you know what else is redundant? All the freaking losses from my teams. Remember, he's a Laker fan too, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
yeah, it's been tough. Now they are above 500, so they're doing all right. The problem is the West is so darn deep that it's tough. I mean, the Mavericks have
God.
reeled off like the Mavericks have been on like a 10-1 run or something like that. They've been going
Yep.
crazy. OKC is not relenting. They've been at the top. The Rockets are sitting up there in third or fourth place. And teams that you would think would be there, the Nuggets, the Clippers, they're kind of in that 5-6 area. So it's a little different this year. The young teams are starting to sprout. Okay, the new guys from last year or the year before are now ready to compete, and I think that's what you're seeing from teams like OKC, from the
Yeah.
Rockets. We already saw Boston win a championship. Orlando is another example. Cleveland Cavaliers, who had a ton of draft picks that are on their team between Mobley and Darius Garland, and they've got lots of guys that they drafted over the past 5 years. These guys are now starting to get into in NBA playing time, and they're starting to really reach their peak.
Yeah. And the wet and 3 games separate third to 10.
Yeah,
That's how deep the West is right
yeah.
now. The Rockets are 17-9 along with the Mavericks. Then you have then you have the play-in tournament, which would include both of our teams, the Clippers and the
Again,
Minnesota Timberwolves,
because we
all
were both in
separate
it last year.
all separated by about 3 games here. So it, you're not out of it, but that's how a winning streak, like you said, like the Dallas Mavericks, got them to 17-9, and now they're sitting in the 4 spot where literally that's where the Warriors were just sitting not too long ago here. And at 14-11, it's not easy to say the least
Yeah.
when it comes to that. But speaking of my Warriors here, we went out and got ourselves a nice little backup point guard here in Dennis Schroeder. The um
It's a good
the
pickup.
defense, it's a great pickup here, and to lose a few draft picks as well as Melton, you can't be mad at that there.
Nah.
And so he's going to provide another backup point guard who just needs to be able to facilitate kind of like a Chris Paul, but I think you're going to get a lot more defense out of Schroeder than you would out of Chris Paul here. So I think that's what's really going to help the Warriors defensively here. I don't think the Warriors are done in the trade deadline, though. They still need to go out and get that number 2 here. Talks to Jimmy Butler coming back to our turning around. You're gonna hate this. Look, they're gonna try to probably reach out to LeBron once again to
There we go.
entertain that. They are linked to Giannis should the season start folding again for the Minnesota, or not for the Minnesota Timberwolves, but for the Milwaukee Bucks. There's a lot going on here for the Warriors here. I like this because they don't give up a lot. They're still trying to trust their core. But they bring in a guy who's gonna help them on the defensive end. I think Brandon Podziemski is gonna have to go down to the G League to kind of get some of this reworked out
Yeah.
for him here. But I don't see Schroeder starting. I do see him coming off the bench here. That'd be too small of a lineup between him and Curry on the floor here, so that's going to present a mismatch. So you
Yeah.
want to try to keep a little bit of size. So I think I see him coming off the bench, but with him and Kaminga, that's going to be a nice little lob combination there. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the guy played for the Lakers for a while. He's a pesky defender. He's a guy that gets right up under folks. Not afraid to mix it up. He can shoot the three and is often left open. And he's a guy that can score in and around the basket too. He's very good with the floater. He's a guy that's not afraid to take those those mid range jumpers. So he's more of a prototype
Yeah.
traditional point guard. He's not a guy that's going to come out and try to shoot 53s, come off screens and do something crazy. He's just going to go with the flow and defend his butt off. So I think it's a huge pickup, especially when you're looking for veteran leadership on a Warriors team that's getting younger and younger.
Yeah.
You know, Kaminga now, you know, has been asserting himself. You got Trace Jackson. You got these guys that are trying to put themselves, you know, that are trying to, you know, marry themselves with the old guys like Draymond and Curry. And having another veteran guy with your B team is going to do wonders for you, because if you can, again, if you want to keep Steph Curry healthy, you got to have a bench that can do it. You got to have a bench that can go out there and keep the lead or extend the lead. That's what's
Yeah.
going to keep Curry fresh.
And that's what we've seen a lot of the issues with the Warriors is they can't hold these leads
Nah,
anymore.
man.
But then again, to be honest with you, there's no lead safe in the NBA with the amount of threes that are be chucking up. For God's sake, the Bulls shot 51 threes not too long ago, and they suck at shooting threes, okay? And I want to talk about that right now. Viewership in the NBA is at an all-time low. Taj, you watch a lot of basketball as much as I do. I swear to God, the teams that are shooting threes should not be shooting threes, and they're doing it at such a high rate. And it's at some point, it gets boring to watch because it's brick after
Yeah.
brick, it's turnover after turnover. It has turned into some very sloppy basketball. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. That's from what I see on my end. What are you seeing on why the viewership is so low because of this?
Well, you know, viewership. You know, the first thing is, you know, we're in November, and generally, let's be honest, in November. Excuse me, we're in December, but November, December, we really don't hit the stride in the NBA until we get to Christmas and afterwards. So I'd be curious to see what it looks like when we get to that portion of the season. But because you're still competing with football and everything else. But one thing is, like you said, is a lot of teams are shooting low percentage shots. That's really what it comes down to. The 3 pointer, if no matter how you cut it, and I know the Warriors live and die with the creed of, you know, it's threes and free and layups, right? But that's because they have Steph Curry and had Klay Thompson on their team. For everybody else, a 3 point shot is a low percentage shot, unless
Yes.
it's wide open. Remember, the best 3 point shooter in the game only is going to only shoot about 40%. Remember that, 40%. Okay. Now, the very best scorers in our league, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, they haven't shot. Giannis ain't shot under 50% in 2 years because he's shooting high percentage baskets. So there's a difference, you know what I'm saying? And so you can fall in love with the three as much as you like, but unless you're Steph Curry or the Warriors with him and Clay, the bottom line is you're not going to shoot. If you shoot that many threes, you're probably you will be happy to shoot them at a 38% clip. Then think about
It,
that for a second. 38%. That's not great, right? I mean, it's not a high number, but that just goes to show again, the 3 point shot is a low percentage shot. And if guys would turn some of these dumb fast breaks from 3 pointers into a traditional fast break that ends with a layup, take the bucket.
take the
A
bucket,
layup is an
man.
80% shot, man. Why the hell are we running? Nobody runs lanes anymore. That used to have to when you used to run drills, we had to throw the damn ball and not put the ball on the ground. You had to run the damn lanes, okay? Now guys are running the sidelines. They're way up there on the
Yeah.
edges, and they got one guy in the middle, and he's pitching the ball to the corner for somebody to shoot a corner three. And it's like, no, man, get to the basket. And so, yeah, you see a lot of that in the league, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And when it doesn't work, it looks really, really sloppy.
Let me give you some numbers here from I'm going to give you two sets of numbers. Three pointers attempted a year ago to current right now, right?
Yeah.
Guess who's the number one team with 3 point attempts?
Your team?
Nope, Boston Celtics are.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Okay.
Last year they attempted 42 threes a game. Right now, at this moment, they're at 51
That's
three-pointers attempted a game.
crazy, man.
Chicago was at 32 3 pointers attempted a game in 2023. They are now up to 43 3 pointers a game. Charlotte was at 34, 43. Golden State 38, now at 41. Brooklyn 36, now at 40. Minnesota 32, 40. Every team has trended upwards in 3 point shots. The first five that are rattled off are the top five 3 point attempt teams in the NBA. Why in the world is Chicago, Charlotte, and Brooklyn even in that category when they don't have the
Dude.
3 point shooting like Boston? I give Boston credit. They have snipers on that team.
Yeah.
Golden State will always do it because of Steph Curry and Buddy Hield now as well. But for good God, man, why is Charlotte shooting 43 attempts a game from the 3-point line, and you can't name a good 3-point shooter on that
I
team?
mean that's
It's
all. That's
ridiculous.
all LaMelo Ball, man. That's him by himself on that team taking all them damn threes, man. I,
Chicago, good
Chicago. Now
God.
that one I can't answer for you. Zach LaVine never could shoot. I don't know who else on that team is even taking threes. But the bottom line here, the root cause is the belief with analytics is that if you shoot more threes, you have a better opportunity because three is better than two. But the problem is if you're shooting them at a 32% clip, you're just wasting time, giving away rebounds, and the other team is going the other way, especially when we're talking about fast break points. I guarantee you, if you've ever watched a basketball game and watched somebody brick a off the break three, that's almost automatically 2 points on the
Yeah,
other end. It always goes like that. And so it's just one of those things where I think teams, the tide will change eventually, where you're going to start to see teams do a little bit more in the paint, be a little bit more consistent with 2 point shots. Because the fear is that if you remember back in the day, a 2 point shot was automatic. Guys were shooting mid range shots like they were layups. If you remember, the good old Michael Jordan, he didn't shoot a lot of threes. Okay, he shot over 50% for his career, and most of it was elbow jumpers. Because
yeah.
that was the name of the game back then. So if a guy can shoot elbow jumpers at a 50, 60 clip, that's a lot better than shooting at the 3 point line at a 38 clip. And that's just the truth. It's just that the players aren't built like that anymore. Mid range has been taken out of the game, and all you got now is layups, fouls, and 3 pointers.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And then Papa J goes, the NBA needs for rating is Caitlin Clark. We are going to talk about that in a second here. He also said a good point to you as well when it came to the 3-point shooting, and also says those are horrible stats for 3 pointers. Are you sure you're not reading the NFL stats for
Yeah.
kickers?
Apparently, hey man, look, technology has killed accuracy in our world. You don't have to be accurate or tell the truth anymore. You could just do whatever, and it's affecting everything. Nobody's accurate. We saw quarterbacks do it, kickers do it, and now NBA players walk into a gym trying to shoot 53s a game as a team. You have to actually try to do that. You know that, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to try to shoot 50 a game. That's not something you just that doesn't organically happen, right? If
Nope.
anybody's ever played basketball, that has to be a focal point of what you're doing in order to shoot 50, because that's a lot of 3 point shots. And if they don't fall, I'm sorry, most teams will be like, I'm just gonna stop now. But from what we see in the league these days,
It's
just
gonna get
just keep
worse.
going, just keep shooting.
God, and Papa J, if you want to know where I'm getting this, go to teamrankings.com, go to NBA stats and 3 pointers attempted per game. It'll make you throw up right next to your garbage can here,
Yeah,
with who's at the top here. And then the last bit of gripe I have, this the refs. I hate when refs have to get involved when they
oh
don't need to
no.
be involved. The game against the Rockets and the Warriors were up one with 10 seconds left. I don't see why they're one. I blame the Warriors for taking a shot, even that with that much time left on the game clock. Two, there's a loose ball between Green and Kaminga and Kevon Looney, and you're gonna call a foul to determine that,
In both,
dude.
yeah, free throws. Yeah,
It involves free throws. The Rockets go down and hit two. The Warriors end up losing on one of the worst
it was
calls
bad. It
I
was
have
pretty
seen.
rough.
You don't get involved with that much time left on a loose ball where there's no one getting fouled. Literally, Houston was trying to call a timeout. All right, you can see Green say the words timeout. They don't give it to him. Kaminga's not crawling all over him either, and there's no foul that needs to be called. Call a jump ball. At least call that. Give them the timeout. Do not call a foul. There was no foul needed to be called. It was disgusting. Cost the Warriors a trip to the
To
to
Vegas,
uh
yeah.
to Vegas, and then proceeded to get their asses whooped by Dallas yesterday. So thanks, refs. Really appreciate it there. We
Yeah,
appreciate it, man.
we always hate to see a close game determined by fouls and free throws. People
It's
want to see
ridiculous, man.
guys make shots. That's generally what we want to see. Yeah,
That's like a pass interference call being
yeah,
on a deep ball
yeah. At the end
with
of the game,
yeah, nah,
it happens.
unless it's blatant where he grabs him and throws him out of bounds. If they're hand fighting, a little bit of holding at most, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let them handle it there. At least you can say, well, we let them play. Let it play on. I'm all right with that. Don't call a foul with 3 seconds left because homeboys can't control the ball. Get out of here with that.
Oh man.
Cheating ass refs.
Well, let's jump into it because I think we hinted at it with the comment by Papa J. So, for folks who don't know, Caitlin Clark received the Athlete of the Year award for Time Magazine, and she went on. She had a long article that was in there that talked about some of the I guess things that she's gone through and her opinions on certain things, and apparently there's a few different things that people are disagreeing with. It's not even just one thing, it's like a few. The first one is the idea, and we'll start with that. The first one is the idea that she is the women, is not women, excuse me, the athlete of the year for Time Magazine. And my opinion on that is the reason that Caitlin Clark is because she put, well, not just her by herself, but mainly her, she put more viewers on women's college basketball games than NCAA men's games.
Yup.
There were more people watching her games than there were watching the guys compete in the college ranks. That's one. She was then able to carry that same current of popularity over into the WNBA. The WNBA experienced a bounce in revenue that they had not seen in many years past, and she had a general effect on that. Now there are other players that are great. We talked about before about Angel Reese, who I thought was a great talent in college as well, but is just not as polished as Caitlin Clark is as a point guard, as a player at her position. Even though they
Yep.
play two different positions, arguably Caitlin Clark is better at her position. So she's also not. This isn't just a dog and pony show. She's actually good at basketball. Okay, if you've ever watched her. So the other thing, this is Time Magazine. This is not. By no means are we saying that Caitlin Clark is the best WNBA player in WNBA. She's not. Aja Wilson has been the dominant player. She's the MVP. She's been MVP before. She's been dominant for a little while now. But Caitlin Clark's influence and her run, we'll call it, that she's had this past year, was the reason that she was put in that place. So we'll start by that. So yes, so that's my beliefs on the first issue, which is, should she even be in that position? B, what's your thoughts on it?
I, she I'm gonna throw some stats out there right now that the WNBA has never seen, all because one individual entered the league. Their viewership had an all-time record of more than 54 million unique viewers across ABC, CBS, ESPN, ESPN2, NBA TV, networks that rarely carry the WNBA. A record 22 regular season game telecast average at least 1 million viewers. You were getting an audience view because of Caitlin Clark. Second thing here, attendance was up 48% this season. In 22 years, their highest total at 2,353,735 people decided to go watch the WNBA. You want to know why? You had talent, but you had a name that was drawing people.
Right.
All right. The Indiana Fever versus the Washington Mystics matched up on September 19th, and they set a single season record attendance of 20,000 individuals went to go watch it. They weren't there to watch the Washington team. They were there to watch Indiana and Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. The
All right.
Wizards don't get that, but I don't even think the Wizards
Hell
get
no,
that
the
because
Wizards don't get that. And that's an NBA team.
right.
Merchandise is up major because of this. You want to know why? Because you got a player that can do it here. Everything went skyrocketing for this team. They just received another French expansion team in Toronto. They just went international. All right.
And the Warriors too, right?
The
I mean,
Warriors
the
start
Bay
next
Area.
season as
Yeah.
well. Yes.
So they're growing.
And because of one individual, and she is a trendsetter here, she deserves Times Magazine Athlete of the Year. She set precedents to an to a or to a sport that was just looked past like, no, it's just the WNBA. It's
Exactly.
not just the WNBA anymore. They are gaining a lot of traction here. Do they have great players? They do, but they
Absolutely.
don't have players that carry the name like Caitlin Clark does that can do what she just did for this for this
Yeah,
entire
yeah, for the
sport.
league, yeah.
They've never had that. They had Cheryl Swoops, Diana Taurasi,
Maya
um,
Moore, Brenda
Maya
Stewart.
Moore.
Yeah, there's
All
a
of
lot
them
of them. Yeah,
all of them were great players. But the one thing they never did is they never marketed it and they never transferred it from the college level because
yeah,
all of those players were great college players, but they never carried that momentum into the WNBA. They let it just kind of fall. All right. We saw players get shoe deals left and right
yeah,
because they were drawing the revenue to be able to do that because of Caitlin Clark.
yeah,
Does Angel Reese have a small hand in it? She
yeah.
does, but
Absolutely.
she doesn't carry the same weight as Caitlin Clark does. All right. Caitlin Clark is drawing people to go watch your sport. I watched more WNBA games than I've ever done all this year. I wanted to see what Caitlin Clark was going to do. You know why? Because she's doing something we all love, and she is shooting deep threes off the dribble, coming off of a screen. She is doing what we enjoy watching the NBA now. She's doing it in the WNBA. There's no difference from her shooting to what Curry shoots. All right, they make them at the same pace to say the least here,
Yeah,
but for the notion of it needs to be the entire WNBA, no, it's Caitlin Clark. She did this for you guys. Stop being petty and enjoy it because it's gonna get better. As long as she's in the league, it's gonna get better. And as much as you guys keep hating on her, I'm gonna continue to support her because she's doing something great.
yeah, and I think again, as you mentioned earlier, this is a kind of the perfect storm or whirlwind where you had so much, and we talked about this. There's so much attention at the college level that there was this great opportunity to take that and steer directly into the WNBA. We had this conversation, I want to say it's been a minute, where we talked about the same thing happening with the NBA because that's what happened in the NBA as well. There were two players, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, who
Yep.
also were at each other's throats at the collegiate level. And once they got drafted, these two players, that same thing carried into the NBA and lifted the NBA out of a pretty dark era where they began to grow from that point going forward. Those guys effectively saved the NBA. So it's just one of those things where it's a perfect storm. It is drawing, and there are going to be some people that maybe look at it a little left, but at the same time, you have to agree with the fact that look, they're making more money, they're expanding, things are good for everybody. And we've talked about this. I mean, we've been talking about this. If you don't like her, by all means, beat her on the court. And they have. She didn't win a championship. There are other players that got a chance to shine too. So whenever the spotlight is shown, get in there with it. Carry it. And this is an opportunity for everybody to share in that and ride that wave too. And so I don't really see an issue with it. Just given the year that she's had and the impact that she's had on the game, it's the Tiger Woods effect. Tiger
Yep.
Woods goes into the PGA, people hated on him, made little fried chicken jokes, but then 10 years later, everybody's making more money. The purses are
Yeah.
way bigger. It becomes a sport. The PGA has TV deals they could never even dreamed of while Tiger Woods was playing golf. And so, yes, there were other good golfers there. Yes, there are guys that competed there long before. It's a very historic game. But that guy changed the trajectory of the sport going forward. So I think that we're seeing a little bit of that in this particular scenario. So go ahead and hit the chat, man. I know Papa J chimed in.
Papa J said, well, check this out. I've never heard of any WNBA player in my life other than Caitlin Clark and Reese. In fact, I only know Reese because of Clark. In fact, I can't think of Reese's first name
It's
either.
Angel Reese.
It's
First
Angel
off,
Reese,
shame
and
on you,
you.
Papa J. Okay, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Lisa Leslie, excuse me.
Not,
She's Leslie, excuse me.
Leslie.
There's a ton of great players that have played the WNBA. Shamika Holslaw. There's a lot of players. So
The Abumake twins, they played
yeah,
in
they
the
played. Yeah,
WNBA.
yeah, Candace Parker. So there are a lot of players that have been there. It's just that they've never had the notoriety. So So it's shining a light on the women's game, and like you said, Papa J, people like yourself are like, I never would have watched it if she wasn't there, and that goes to prove the point, which is that she's bringing the eyes, and the eyes are going to feed everybody. So they got to continue doing it. If you notice, one thing I noticed is that that what is it, USC in Connecticut game, they've been pushing that thing like crazy. This is
Oh God,
women's.
I can't. Has that game started yet?
It's on
Because
Saturday. They've been
I
pushing
I want
it.
to watch that one.
Exactly. So this is the
Yes.
effect that's happening, right? We're starting off earlier. The talent's getting better. There are girls in high school right now, Papa J, that can dunk. It's just that their league has to take more time to continue to grow. They've only been around for about 20 some years. So it's going to take time before they can get the very best athletes and their sport starts to become better. And Caitlin Clark is kind of a start in that transition to where we see players that start playing in a way that we're used to seeing the NBA players play like. And that's when you're
Here's
going to get interested.
here's the reason why this game is going to be so big in the college ranks between USC and UConn.
Yeah.
Juju Watkins
Yeah.
had a unbelievable freshman year, and she's only a sophomore, top player in the college ranks. Then on the UConn side of things, you have pulling up her name, Paige Buchers. It's her final year. She's coming off of injury here. This matchup is going to be well worth it. I would watch it.
Yeah.
I 100% would make sure you are glued to the TV because those two can absolutely ball out here.
Yeah.
100%. Before we get to our last topic, I'm going to give you one more fact on why Caitlin Clark deserved this award. The All-Star voting had a record nearly 10 million fans vote for this.
Yeah.
A plus 538% increase from last year.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need to know on how impactful this woman is to your sport.
Ride the wave,
That's
baby.
it. That's it. Last time I checked, Candace Parker didn't have 10 million fans voting for the WNBA All-Star. That's all I'm saying.
Did, man. Nobody did. And they got to ride the wave. They got to ride the wave. And one other point I'll bring up. This is the other thing I noticed that people were saying is they were very upset with Caitlin Clark, mentioning the fact that or acknowledging that the sport that she plays in is predominantly black, and that the black women that are in the league have of course not from its inaugural season built it and sustained it up until this point. I'm not sure why people were upset about that. I think it's just her acknowledging what we all already know. I am African American. I am black. But if I were watching hockey and I loved hockey and wanted to play hockey, my favorite hockey player is probably going to be white.
Wayne Gretzky,
Mario Lemieux, or Wayne Gretzky. Exactly. So for her favorite player was black, Maya Moore, and so it only made sense that she would say something like that. Because it's a smart thing to say. You don't want to go into a sport where it's predominantly African American and then pretend like you don't like black people. That's not a good idea. Have you ever been in the hood at night? Anyway, so it's not but I thought it was great, and I was curious that a lot of people were very upset at her for mentioning that, because they were upset at her mentioning white privilege and stuff like that, and very upsetting to a lot of people. And I mean, I find it humorous because we all know that African Americans dominate most sports, not all, but when it comes to basketball and all this stuff. And so it's okay to say that it's okay that she can keep it real and speak to it in that manner, and I don't think she's apologizing for being white. I think she's just saying, and she even said herself, I earned everything that I have. The cool thing about my people is if you grow up near us and you live with us, you compete with us, if you can play, we gonna let you play. We don't do segregation.
100%.
We don't do segregation. That only works on the other side. We don't do that. If you can ball, we'll tell you can ball. If you can sing, white boy, you can sing. You ever heard the song, Play That Funky Music, White Boy? Where do you think he got that from? It was because he was around some black folk. So we don't, my people don't come from, we don't do that. That's on the other side. Y'all do that. Y'all do the segregate. Oh, well, they got, no, it's all good. And it may take we criticize the WNBA for taking some time They beat her up pretty good and welcomed her to the NBA pretty harshly. But
She handled it.
I'm pretty sure they did the same thing to LeBron James too. It's gonna happen to you if you come in. Everybody say you the best thing since sliced bread. People are gonna come for your neck. Same
Yep.
thing with Bronny James. That's why we talk about him. We do the same thing to him. You garbage because you're not as advertised. So it's just a part of the competition piece, and I hope everybody gets that, man. So good kudos to her. I ain't got nothing wrong with her. She's cool. She plays basketball. I seen her play. She's good at what she do.
Yep.
Keep doing what you're doing and earn the respect of every WNBA player you ever saw in another 2 years. Nobody will have a complaint about it. It's just,
I'm going to tell you
the
this
beginning.
right now. I'm looking forward to when the Valkyrie play the Indiana Fever because I will be getting tickets. I want to see this Caitlin Clark show up in person.
There you go.
I want to see it at the Chase Center. Let's see that. Real quick, man. I didn't think this WNBA topic be a good one here. Papa J goes, well, I'm gonna start paying attention now because of Caitlin Clark. Though, it takes one player. It's gonna take one player for you to recognize the rest of the league there, and that's what the WNBA needs. Papa J, they need fans like you who are going to tune in and watch Caitlin Clark. You're going to see Cameron Brink have a good style of basketball as well. You're going to see Sabrina from the New York Liberty.
Yeah.
She has a very good style as well. Brenna Stewart, also from the New York Liberty. They just won the championship. Two really good players there. So you will see more talent outside of Caitlin Clark. But if she draws you to watch it, that's what they need there. So is Caitlin Clark / WNBA players, WNBA organization, referees hate for Clark real? It is super real that they are just
from the players more so than anything.
Yeah,
I think that was the initiation this year. And I'll keep in mind, it didn't go throughout the year. It was like the first 20 or so game. Once they got towards the playoffs, we didn't hear a lot more about it. So it was more of like an initiation thing, but that was definitely real because there was some NBA players, especially some retired ones, who were not happy about the fact that she was getting so much attention. Referees, I don't really think there's anything going on that end of it. If she got hit, they generally called the foul or a technical. And give Caitlin Clark credit. If you watch some of these games, you'll notice she does a lot of crap talking herself. I mean, she's not shying away from anything in particular. She's going in there and playing with her head down as well. The organization as a whole, the only people concerned, the organization loves her, if we're talking about the WNBA as a whole. But there are a few people that might have something to say, but when they collect their check, they'll change their mind.
Exactly here. And then he comes in. Unfortunately, we can't talk about this one. She's got to be the Time Magazine Person of the Year. They made that choice already. We won't discuss that one. Yeah. They made their choice on who the Person of the Year is in that department, so we won't be discussing that there. Yeah. Last bit of information. I know we're way behind here, but it's been a great show, man. I don't know about you, but this has been fantastic.
We having fun.
Heisman Trophy winner was announced. I'm not a fan of it.
I am.
I don't think he earned it. Did he have a great season? Yes. Travis Hunter is your 2024 Heisman Award winner here. Received 2,200 points. 552 of those were first place. The guy who I believe should have won it, Ashton Genty, finished with 2,000 points, 309 first place votes as well. T, I know we were talking about it a little bit here. Give me your insight on it. I know big college football was kind of starting to creep up on you a little bit here.
Yeah.
Is it something that's right here for it?
14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Who is there another player? Is there another player, collegiate or otherwise, that can have that stat? I'm just saying. Look, and to your point, B, there's somebody that plays at their position that we might look at and say that they're better. But this dude is playing on both sides of the ball. And some of them catches he be making, he ain't open. But he catches the ball, okay? Shedeur Sanders ain't exactly, he's all right. But some of them passes, some of them catches he made are incredible. Travis Hunter's made some crazy, crazy catches this year. And to be able, as an athlete, to play on both sides of the ball and be effective, not saying that he plays every defensive snap and every offensive snap, but he's the one player that has the capability of doing it. And I think, B, what's happening is the novelty of that is what won him the Heisman Trophy, because he's not number one offensive player. He's probably not
No.
number one defensive player, but he's somewhere in the middle in both, and there's nobody else that can do that. And I think that's why he won the Heisman, and I think he deserves it. Who else is going to do it? We haven't seen it since Deion. Who else has been able to do that? Has been able to come and play on both sides of the ball and be effective. I think it's a phenomenal thing that a player can do that, and I think to that point, because to be honest with you, how many times are we going to see this ever again in life? I don't think you'll
So
see very many players. There aren't going to be very many more players that are able to do it at all. So I think that has a lot to do with him winning the Heisman Trophy.
this is where I'm going to counter argue with that with Ashton Genty here. Ashton Genty is playing on a I'm going to say a non-power 5 conference here. Boise State, very small town school. No one really, you don't really think of Boise State as being a power conference, but look, he is the reason why they're playing in this college football playoff here. But here's the main reason why. He is on the doorstep of breaking one of college football's most prestige records, which is Barry Sanders' all-time FBS rushing record in a single season. 2,628 yards and 37 touchdowns in 1988. Genty is right on the door. He's at 2,497 yards with 29 touchdowns here. The magnitude of what he meant to his team, you can't take away there. The only thing that he couldn't compete with that is the fact that when it comes to the Heisman, you do have to promote your player. Colorado did a fantastic job with promoting Travis Hunter
there, man. I mean,
exactly.
But
Genty didn't have that privilege there. All of his talk, all of his game is what got him to New York, and I believe should have won him the Heisman. He meant so much more to his team in Boise State. He would have been magnetized in Colorado should he have went over there and played in Colorado. He may have done even more damage.
I don't know.
Playing in Colorado.
Yeah. I think Travis Hunter was just as important to Colorado. I don't think they're not the greatest team either. But
the difference is where their teams ended up at as well. Yeah, Colorado's not playing for much.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm telling you is it's the novelty of it. It's the novelty of a player that could play both sides and actually do well doing both. And you just don't see that. You don't see that. It doesn't happen. Like, it literally does not happen. We don't see players that play both sides of the ball. And so somebody that's able to do that and then also have highlights and also have touchdowns and also have interceptions is not something that you're going to see for another 20 years. So when it does happen, unfortunately, you have to deal with that. You have to deal with the novelty of that. And no matter who you are, that's tough to compete against because it doesn't happen. You're competing against an anomaly. How do you do that?
But is that something that we're going to award every year if we say we get another guy?
Because nobody can do it.
But what if somebody else does?
Who?
I'm just saying.
That's my point. That's why he got it, because nobody else can do it. It's the matter of if everybody could do it, then more people would. And the fact is, nobody does. So that's why he got it. It only happens every 20 years. How many guys are playing both sides of the ball? Deion Sanders, I can't name any others. And do it to that magnitude. So, in my opinion, that's why he got it. And I get what you're saying. This guy kept his head down. He's doing his job. He's a running back. What else can he do? But at the end of the day, if you got a guy that's doing something that has not been done, or that's doing something that you're not going to see for ever again, then it's tough to pass that up. It's tough to just walk over that and say, yeah, you played both. You played offense and defense, played more offensive. You had to play offensive and defensive snaps, but, so-and-so was a better running back. I mean, they went with what they thought was, in my opinion, the novelty, the anomaly of it. I just think it's too hard to pass on.
Well, we can't change the decision anymore because that shit's made. So, but those are good arguments, though. I would say it's a good argument in between both because we can stand on ground between that. You can even make the case for Dylan Gabriel, who is on the best team of the nation, had one of the best seasons as a quarterback here, and we all know that the Heisman is one of those awards that basically always went to the quarterback.
Yeah. Or running back every once in a while.
And when you look at the last few award winners, I just had it up here. Before Saturday, 2023 quarterback Jaden Daniels, 2022 Caleb Williams, 2021 Bryce Young, 2020 Devontae Smith. The one receiver that won it in a very long time. 2019 Joe Burrow, 2018 Kyler Murray, 2017 Baker Mayfield, 2016 Lamar Jackson. The last running back to win it was Derrick Henry in 2015.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said,
We can make an argument for Dylan Gabriel, because I'll give you his stats right now. 297 of 406, 73% completion, 3,500 yards, 8 yards an attempt, 28 touchdowns to 6 interceptions here. Those are Heisman winners right there too.
Yeah, and that's why I say, man, it's the case of what cannot be done, because you listed off like 5 or 6 quarterbacks, so we know what quarterbacks can do. We've seen the very best of quarterbacks go through the college ranks. What we haven't seen is someone play the both sides of the ball to that ability, and that's what he's being awarded the Heisman for.
Well, I hope it's over.
He's like, you know what? I'm tired of this.
I'm tired of this.
Damn it, Dion.
Talk.
Tired of Colorado.
God, go to the NFL. Go ruin the Raiders. Go ruin the Raiders now.
Hey,
God,
man, they can't make us worse than we are. Come on, quit playing.
Watch this. Hold Dion sunglasses. Watch what happens.
Oh man. Oh man. I think
we got it all.
Yeah, we got it all. We got Papa J, who did look up who the Time Magazine Person of the Year was, and
we're not gonna say
it. God bless us all. 2025 is gonna be real weird. I'm just gonna call it right now. Things are getting weird already, but they are gonna get a lot weirder. So take care of yourself and your family. That's all I got to say about that.
We'll see you Friday, though.
Yeah, we'll see you Friday. Pick up dummies. Then, of course, Sunday we'll be back at it. Man, almost Christmas. I am not prepared at all. So I'm just gonna get
until then. Time to brave the malls, because I ain't done no shopping yet.
Oh yeah, me neither. I'm doing handshakes and high fives all the way around.
Yep. You got blessed with my presents. That's about as good as it's gonna get.
You saw me. Merry Christmas.
I'm still alive. Merry Christmas.
There you go.
See ya.
There you go. All right, y'all. Until next time, join us Friday for Pick 'em Dummies. Join us this coming Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for our hour-long show. And yeah, go ahead and hit that play. You already hit the play button. Excuse me. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. And check us out. Check out some of our videos too. We've been at this for a little while now. And we appreciate you joining us. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Peace.